And welcome back to our program. You are listening to Points to Ponder, and I'm Ron. We have Todd Bosley in the house and Todd Snitchler, and I got an email from Tom Wolf, CPA, and he's got about 3 questions over here, but I'm going to ask Mr. Bosley one. It says, Mr. Bosley was one of the first politicians in Starr County to endorse President Obama. Does he stand behind the endorsement today based upon the actions and performance of the Obama administration? Todd, your answer to that?
Well, while not completely happy with many of the actions of the administration, at the time he clearly was the best choice, and I'm hopeful that our president, who I think we need to all support through this trying time, can get some things turned around and change the direction of this country.
You mean we shouldn't hope that he fails?
I do not hope he fails.
I was being facetious. I could also continue being facetious by asking Todd Snitchler. You supported John McCain in the last election, right?
Yes, I did.
Are you proud of the way he's been flip-flopping and contorting himself?
I think he is acting.
You don't have to answer that. I'm just shooting.
I would. I'd say I'm a little disappointed that he's acting like a classic politician that's doing whatever it takes to save his skin rather than just be honest with people and tell them where they stand.
That was an honest answer. I appreciate that. That was Todd Snitchler and Todd Bosley. We have Miss No Name, who's been waiting for a mighty long time. Good morning, Miss No Name. Wonderful questions. I thought those were good questions. Todd Snitchler, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll take the, because I think the first half was just for me. I am a solo practice attorney with my practice located in Uniontown in Lake Township, and most of my clients are small business owners that are dealing with business issues for the whole life cycle of their business. So from start to finish, whether they're wrapping up or they're selling to another buyer. Accomplishments that I'm proud of while I've been in the legislature. Being that this is my first go-around, we tried to jump in with both feet and get engaged and work with folks as closely as we could. I'm most proud of being appointed to the Sunset Review Committee, participating in that process for about a year with folks.
And what is that?
The Sunset Review Committee it's a statutorily created board that meets every 5 years in order to evaluate the agencies and departments and boards and commissions that exist to see, 1, do they need to continue? 2, should they be consolidated because they've met their objective? Or 3, do they need to be renewed and fully funded because they're continuing to do the work that they're doing? We heard testimony from over 250 boards and commissions. We made recommendations to eliminate more than 70, and then we had the balance where either renewed or consolidated. And that was an effort to try and get a handle on the size and scope of government, which is one of the things I said I would try to work on in an effort to get that done. Secondly, contrary to what my opponent has said repeatedly, I did manage to work with some folks on the other side of the aisle, particularly on my House Bill 77, which was amended into House Bill 391. This was an idea brought to me by a local FBI agent that said, you know, the last General Assembly, there was some privacy protections afforded to law enforcement, and we think that federal law enforcement folks ought to have the same protections. And we looked into it, and I thought, yeah, that does make some sense. That bill had one hearing, and then it was tabled by the committee chairman. So I went to the committee chairman later and said, of a different committee, and said, you have a bill that's a great companion for what we're trying to do to protect privacy issues. It was House Bill 391, sponsored by Democrat Kathy Chandler, which dealt with domestic violence issues and privacy concerns and safety protections. I said, this bill makes sense, it fits. And he said, you know, I think it does. So I worked closely with the chairman of the Civil and Commercial Law Committee. He amended my bill into that bill on his motion, and then brought it to the floor, spoke favorably for it, and that bill ended up being passed out of the House, House Bill 391, including 77, unanimously. Okay. So those are 2 things that I'm most proud of. We can get things done when you do try to work together, and I think that demonstrates the ability to work across the aisle, because that's the way you have to get good things finished.
That's Todd Snitchler. And Todd, I'll ask you, what are 2 of your most important accomplishments as an elected official, whether it's a trustee or a county commissioner member?
Well, I'll say by and far the most important thing that I believe I've done is the centralization of the 911 system, to be able to accurately pinpoint a call when people are in need of emergency response, to be able to tell exactly where you're at and then get those services to you as soon as possible. First and foremost, that's the most important. Probably, I would say my most favorite second project is the Solid Waste District. The efforts we've led for recycling, you may notice in all of your different communities, all the green trash bins. That's been important, as well as our efforts to regulate the landfills with the dumping of toxic chemicals into our water supply. Is a solid waste board, on a board that serves with both Republicans and Democrats, more Republicans than Democrats, by the way. We've been able to do very good things there. During my term, it was the first time we bought a set of scales to actually regulate these trucks that were continuing to tear up our roads and cost taxpayers a lot of money. So that's been my favorite work, but the most important work by and far is the fact that your family is going to be safer as a result of the 911 fix that happened in Stark County last year.